Hey everybody, it's me, Gregory Mannarino, back on this exceedingly lovely day. I have so much to talk about, I really don't know where to start, but I guess we'll start at the beginning. It's Thursday, October 18th, 2018. So let's talk about, again, I'm almost dumbfounded here, an absolutely wild day on Wall Street. Geopolitical issues played into this, and I'm going to cover all that. But let's talk about how this day traded, what happened in the bond market today, in completely off the Richter scale. I just love that phrase. You're allowed to use that too, so go ahead. Especially if you follow my work, we're all on the same team. Market finished down about the Dow Jones Industrial Average finished down about 325 points. At one point today, it was down 470 points. Now let's talk about what happened here. Again, if you watched the video that I did this morning, stocks were down at that point. This was early on, not by much, just a little bit. Then all of a sudden, we heard that more rhetoric with regard to Saudi Arabia. This whole thing has gotten so out of control. If you ask me, seriously, let's talk about that for a second. It was all about this journalist, whoever he really was. I don't know. It doesn't even matter. Let's just talk about what we're hearing. Initially, we were going to punish Saudi Arabia if they harmed this man. I don't understand. What did that mean, punish? Whatever. Then all of a sudden, Saudi Arabia comes out, admits that it was some kind of an accident. The guy got cut to pieces on accident. I don't know. I don't know how that happens. I really even know what happens to the guy. I'm just making this stuff up here, but that's the truth. Saudi Arabia was preparing to say, hey, you know what? This happened. It was accidental. He died while he was being tortured. How is that an accident? I don't know. Then President Trump got involved here, and he was kind of taking exception that, and I don't get this part here. There was definitely miscommunication. President Trump was saying, and please don't take offense to what I'm saying. These are the facts, all right, people. And I'm not against President Trump. I support the man. Okay. Anyway. He came out and said, well, we really shouldn't blame Saudi Arabia until we find out what the facts were. I guess I could understand that perspective, but at the same time, they were going to admit that the guy died by accident. Again, we really don't know the facts, so I don't know what to say about that. It's crazy. Then apparently there's more evidence that's coming out that he was deliberately killed. Mnuchin today decides to back out of talks, and that was it. It seemed to the market that an issue with Saudi Arabia was going to escalate, and markets just fell off of a cliff, not knowing what to do. Now, I want to talk a little more about Saudi Arabia and how it's playing into the markets. Now, let's back up even a little bit further. How many of you out here, you can put your hand up, I promise not to yell at you, remember all the issues we were allowed to see with regard to emerging markets just, maybe a month or two ago? You don't hear about it anymore. You don't hear about the debt crisis that the world is engulfed in, the European debt crisis, the American debt crisis. You don't hear about it. But these things are underlying everything, and it is a dark, ugly thing that is going to rear its ugly head at one particular time, no matter what happens. And you could blame this person and blame that person. There's going to be a lot of blame to go around here. But the issue is, our leaders colluding with our central banks have manifested a bubble that is truly out of control. That is the global debt bubble. We are in a global debt crisis. Now, every day, and I sit here and I hear from people, I don't know how many a day, hundreds per day. And a lot of people here, and I want to clarify this here, and if you're one of these people, please listen to what I'm going to tell you here. A lot of you seem to believe that this is some kind of a setup for us to bring us to war with Saudi Arabia. Let me say this right here and right now. We will not will not, and I'm going to say it one more time, will not be going to war with Saudi Arabia. And I'm going to cover why. I know I'm probably going to get a lot of hate mail from this, people who don't understand this, but it all comes down to the petro-stinking dollar. The petrodollar. How many of you people out here really understand the petrodollar? I don't think a lot of you do, especially those that are writing to me telling me, Greg, this is a setup to go to war with Saudi Arabia. The petrodollar exists. Let's back up a second here. How many of you out here know this? Even members of the military. I'd love to hear from you. The U.S. military is mandated to protect the oil of OPEC countries. Saudi Arabia being an OPEC country, we are mandated to protect it. This is why they agreed, the petrodollar accord, to price their oil in U.S. dollars. They didn't do it because they like us. They're doing it because we can protect their oil. We have the world's most powerful military that we borrowed to build, continue to do so. But that's the truth. So with that in mind, our military is mandated to protect the oil of OPEC countries. Don't take my word for this. Look it up yourself, okay? There's no way that we're going to go fight a war against Saudi Arabia. It's not happening. It's just not happening. I don't think a lot of people really understand central banking, how it works, the twisted system that it is, the petrodollar, and that's what rattled the markets today, all right? The fact is, the dollar remains the world reserve currency because of the petrodollar. That is it. The fiat monetary system and the petrodollar, the products of the Federal Reserve. Understand that. Let me say something else here, and I don't know how to put this in a correct way. And I don't want people to come away with the wrong thing here. Being that the U.S. military must protect the oil of OPEC nations, petrodollar accord. This is why they've decided, well, they've agreed, again, to do this, to price their oil in U.S. dollars in a twisted, bizarre kind of a way, all right? It can be thought of, okay? Now, again, I might put this together in a kind of a wrong way, but I want you to think about what I'm about to say. We all understand that the U.S. dollar is a fiat currency. It's not backed by anything. However, understanding the petrodollar, one could suggest, and I'm not saying this is true, that the U.S. dollar is backed by the oil of OPEC nations because of the petrodollar. You understand? So what would that mean if the petrodollar were to evaporate? Or if Saudi Arabia decided to say, hey, you know what? We're not gonna back our oil in dollars anymore. This is not gonna happen. Saudi Arabia, in my opinion, and I could be wrong on this, and I would love to hear from you. Look, I don't know everything. I just sit here and talk, and maybe that's part of my problem. I just kind of shoot off my mouth a little bit. But if Saudi Arabia were to say, hey, you know what? We're not going to price our oil in dollars anymore. We're going to price it in euros. The U.S. dollar at that moment loses its reserve status. The dollar value would plunge. And I mean plunge like you could not believe. So this is why one could suggest, and maybe there is some truth to this, that the U.S. dollar is somewhat backed by oil because of the petrodollar. You understand? So just to say this one more time, this is not a setup to go to war with Saudi Arabia. At least I don't believe so. Unless the entire system is going to unravel and we are going to end up in a war globally like you cannot believe. This is obviously something that is on the table. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And that would be the only thing that would dethrone the dollar, in my opinion, or dethrone the Federal Reserve. No one man has the power to do this. Understand what you're saying. If you believe that one man has the power to get rid of the Federal Reserve, the petrodollar system, I don't believe you really have a true concept of what has been done to establish this twisted system. We have fought wars to do this. So I want you to understand that. And there's a lot of misinformation out here. And I understand that no matter what I say, some people will not believe this. You can tell someone the water is wet, like I said. You can tell someone the sky is blue. They won't believe it. They just don't believe it, or whatever it might be. And I understand that. Again, it's also the environment we're in. We're so polarized. You got to go right up the middle here. People, it's the truth. So with that said, that rattled the markets. Thinking that maybe something's going to go on here with Saudi Arabia. And again, I could be way off base, but I do not believe this is leading to any kind of a war or a military conflict with Saudi Arabia. It's just not happening. Could the petrodollar get rattled? I think that's the fear here. That would be a retaliation here from an OPEC nation to say, hold on a minute, we're not going to pressure, not going to price our oil in dollars. Think of how the mechanism here. Sit down for a second. In order for a nation to buy oil from an OPEC nation, any other nation, they have to convert their currency into US dollars. This creates an environment where there's an ever-increasing demand for dollars. You understand? If this system were not to exist anymore, well, you can just see what would happen in the blink of an eye. So the U.S. needs to walk a very, unfortunately, it's the truth. This is what we've allowed to happen. It's a terrible thing. There's so many factors to this. Again, this is why China really holds the upper hand here in the trade war, because they are the second largest holder of U.S. debt. If they want to play with our bond market, they're going to sell bonds and short them at the same time. That's what they're going to do. And Saudi Arabia, they can pull the strings too if they want to change around the petrodollar accord. But at that point, maybe shots would be fired. I don't know. Let's cover a couple of other things here. So again, markets sold off. They really couldn't recover all that much, all over the place. Now the bond market, did you see the bond market today? It was unbelievable. At first we had a sell-off in the bond market. 10-year yield was going up. Then in the blink of an eye, I posted this on my social networks, bonds started getting bought up. Now, I am honestly not sure, at least at this point, that this wasn't a legitimate safety play. We see this all the time. We see them get in here and prop up those bonds to prop up stocks. Maybe that is what happened today. However, it also could be, at least at this point, with geopolitical events heating up, emerging markets seeming to be melting down here, China included, that maybe there's something else going on. You know, we can't be too quick to judge because we keep seeing the same thing over and over again with regard to the bond market. So, some entity getting in here, buying up those bonds, propping it up, suppressing rates, cash flows into the stock market. This is what we've seen now for an entire decade. It's the Federal Reserve who's inflated this bubble here, no doubt about it. Colluding with our policymakers is continuing right now. So I'm not sure what to make of that. I would love to hear from some of you. Was today's bond market action was that a prop up attempt, or was this a legitimate safety play? I'm not sure what to make of that. I'll be honest with you. We're gonna see how that plays out here. Now, I don't know again how many of you out here were watching the Confederacy of Dunces. This was specifically CNBC. They had two guests out there today. One of them, I wish I would have caught the guy's name, but you can see who he is. I posted a picture of him on my Facebook page and on, my goodness, where else did I post it? I think on LinkedIn and Twitter. I think so. This guy actually got out there in front of the camera and said, he was allowed to say this without being, rushed off. He said that the U.S. economy was decelerating. Instead of them ripping him off the screen, they actually let him talk a little bit. I was shocked. I literally almost fell out that window behind me. Now, this is the best here, what I'm about to tell you. I just can't believe this, and there's something I want to read to you. You're going to love this. So, instead of using the term, this is beautiful, that the stocks are overvalued. This is the new catchphrase from the COD, CNBC. Are you sitting down? Sit down for this one. Okay, stocks are not overvalued. It's overinvestment. So don't worry about what's going on right now. It's not overvalued, it's overinvestment. Can you explain to me, can someone out here, please, because I'm not too bright. I need someone out here to explain this to me. Now listen to this comment that someone wrote. This is beautiful. You're going to love this. I laughed my rear end off all over my freaking house. I almost ran outside laughing. It's the truth. So I wrote, this is what I wrote here. Okay, this is me. According to the COD, do not worry that the Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 400 plus points. It's just overinvestment. Now this is a big shout out. This guy here, who goes by the handle Rebel Against the Puppet Show, he says, could be a female, I don't know. Awesome. Don't worry that you're eating rats and sewer water. It was just a miscalculation by the bank. Just eat the rat and drink sewer water and think yourself lucky. That's awesome. I mean, seriously. You know what bothers me, people? How the confederacies of dunces can't tell you the truth. They can't explain. They have to twist it. It's not that the stock market is overvalued. It's not that. It's overinvestment. Are we straight on that? This is what bothers me, and I go crazy when I hear this stuff. Why can't they just tell you straight? Why do they have to twist it into something else? I just don't get it. Why is it that these entities exist as cheerleaders? Someone called them Comedy Central. I mean, maybe it is Comedy Central, but it's laughable. And what bothers me about this entire thing is it's the middle class that is going to suffer here on a grand scale that is unfreaking imaginable. That's the truth. However this plays out, I am sincerely hoping, and I would imagine that most of you would hope this with me, that we do not hit the wall at ultrasonic speed. It looks like that's what's happening here. And maybe we could lessen the pain on people. Look, I don't give a damn, seriously, about central bankers who have inflated this. I want them all to be chased down the block with pitchforks. That's the truth. Our policymakers, along with all of them, that's the truth here. This environment is unbelievably distorted, and it's always the same story. It's the middle class that suffers. How many of you can raise your hand on this one? I know this is getting long. Remember the 2008 meltdown. It's not that long ago. Who got blamed for that? Well, the bubble was inflated by central banks at that time and our policymakers. No one got blamed for a damn thing. As a matter of fact, you and I bailed out Wall Street. Remember that? I don't know how many of you remember all the stuff that was going on at that time here. People's memories are very short. Oh, Wall Street's not going to get bailed out. They're going to hang the bankers. Do you people, you remember the whole Occupy Wall Street thing? It's that faded into oblivion. I even said in a brief I wrote that this thing would go nowhere. These never do. Unfortunately, people don't have the fortitude or guts to get anything done. They hold up their banners and signs, but they don't do anything. And that's the same thing here. When this entire thing corrects to a fair value, many of you out here, again, who do not understand the fiat monetary system, the central banking system, the petrodollar, believe that this is the grand plan, is to push the blame on the Fed. It's not going to work like that. The bankers never are held accountable for anything. As a matter of fact, did you hear this one? Deutsche Bank, they're bringing up two low-level traders up on charges now for rigging LIBOR. Really? You trying to tell me, Deutsche Bank, that it's two traders that really got in here and were able to do this? It had nothing to do with upper management. Oh, no. It's the two traders. Don't you see? They always look for a scapegoat here. What's going to end up happening in this environment, when this all melts down again, the middle class is going to foot the freaking bill. Just like last time, it's never any different. All right, look, I know this has been an awfully long video, but I think I covered some things here that are very important. If you would agree, please share this video. Please get it out there. And it is now 1:23 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at 5 p.m., my lovely friends. Gregory Mannarino is going live at 5, and I am going to answer all your questions. So ponder what I'm talking about here. I will see you at 5 o'clock. We're going to do a live Q&A, and I will elaborate further on some of this stuff here. So have your questions ready. Like I said, I'm going to pick them out, and we're going to have all kinds of fun. I will see you at 5. Ponder these things. Share this video if you're on my team. I'm counting on you. I love all you guys and girls. I mean that. Especially this person today. Person of the day. Rebel against the puppet show. Awesome. Love it. See you later.